Okay. With my last speech, I gave an analogy, and I kind of want to do the same thing, and then I'll explain how it corresponds to my topic. I want you to think about I'm a terrible artist, but think about if you were to make like a painting that took you a really long time, or any type of craft or something like that, that you really put a lot of work into, and then you gave it to someone that you really cared about, and they messed it up, and they broke it or something like that a couple weeks later. And think about our bodies as God's masterpiece. We're supposed to reflect Him, and think about if we're doing these things that dishonor Him, that we are hurting His masterpiece. The 3 ways that I picked that Christians today really practice a lot that hurt God, I think, and it it ruins our holy image that we're supposed to have, is through excess alcohol, excess eating, and sex before marriage. So just excess alcohol, just having enough to where you're getting drunk, or where it's starting to have negative effects on you. So if you're at dinner and you have a glass of wine with your meal, I don't think that necessarily is against God or anything like that. But when you're using it and abusing it, that's when it becomes a problem. Excess eating, that's just, we all know how much we can eat. When you're eating a little more than that, it becomes like abusive, and obviously there's health effects that go with that. And then sex before marriage, that's something that God has given to us as a gift, and a lot of people today, Christians even, are using it as an activity, and it's just really ruining the sacredness of it that God put in place. So what exactly do I mean by these are against God? Excess alcohol. So when you drink a lot of alcohol, it has a ton of effects on you, and I wrote down just some of the main ones. It can have harmful effects on your brain, so you can't think clearly, on your liver, pancreas, and it can cause cancer. And also, just the obvious one is it dehydrates you a lot too. So nothing out of drinking a lot of alcohol is good for your body, and so our bodies are supposed to be the temple of the Holy Spirit, so if we're abusing that, then that shows God we're not appreciative of the body He gave us. The second thing is overeating, and obviously that can just cause obesity. If we are overeating and we're abusing our body, it's not going to work properly, So just like exercising and making sure we're putting the right things into our body and not too much of it is really important, I think. Overeating, I put some of the main things that can cause, besides obesity, it leads to a higher rate of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and joint disease. So if we're overeating a lot and we end up with these diseases, I don't think God will think we're very appreciative of what He's given us if we're kind of just trashing our body. And then the third thing is sex before marriage. And this is probably, if I had to pick one, I think this is the one that people struggle with the most. It causes, this hormone called oxytocin is a hormone that's let off during sexual intercourse. And it actually binds you to that person. So I believe that God put that there so that we'll be bound to our husband. But if we're having sexual intercourse before marriage, then we're going to be bound to that person rather than who we want to spend our life with. So that hormone may be used up, and then you won't be emotionally attached. And that leads to a lot of adultery and stuff like that in the marriage, and there's so many divorces because people don't have any of this hormone left. So that's a huge thing that we need to pay attention to. So how do we avoid this? 1 Corinthians 3:16 through 17 says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" And that's pretty simple. He created us so that we can glorify Him. And if we're using these 3 things to abuse our body, then we're not really being appreciative of what He's given us and blessed us with. 1 Corinthians 6:18 through 20 says, "Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexual immoral person sins against his own body." So that's just saying that basically having sex before marriage is a problem within yourself, and you've got to work on that rather than other sins are not of the body. And our body, again, is the temple, and we need to keep it as pure as possible, even though we're sinful at nature. And then Proverbs 23, this is for the alcohol, it says, "Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor." So he's just given a little bit of an example of what will happen to those who drink a lot and eat a lot and things like that. And it's just super important for us to take care of our bodies in these certain ways. And I put on here a quote that I found, which really sums up, if we're abusing our body and things like that, then we're not going to be actively able to witness to other people and really make an impact in their lives if we're busy, getting drunk or doing things like that, especially because other people are watching us. A quote I found is, "Drunkenness clouds the mind and makes it impossible to worship God and act in a respectable manner." Zavada said that. But I challenge you guys to examine yourself, your own life, and see if the things that you're doing and the things you're putting into your body are glorifying to God, and really think about how important it is for Him. When He created us, He put a lot of time and effort into it, and we, should be very appreciative of the life and the body that He gave us, and really try and treat it like the temple.